This morning, we're hearing from a survivor in the massive sex abuse scandal that's rocking the Southern Baptist Convention. The SBC just held its first annual meeting since a bombshell report came out. It claims executives hushed up hundreds of allegations of abuse. Delegates at the meeting, including alleged survivors, voted for a new president and other reforms. Nikki Battiste spoke to a survivor pressing for change at that meeting. We warn you, some of these details are disturbing.
He made sure he picked me up first and dropped me off last. Man, this is the youth minister at a monster church that's given me all this time.
It was that level of attention from Frankie Wiley, the youth minister at a Southern Baptist megachurch in Georgia in the 1980s, that a young David Pittman says he craved.
And I'm thinking I'm special.
Looking back now, was Frankie Wiley grooming you then?
Absolutely. Not just me. He groomed the family. He groomed the church. And as it turns out, he was grooming the entire state. He has victims all over the state of Georgia.
You were 12 years old when Frankie Wiley began sexually abusing you?
Right. So it started with sleepover, and it would be, oral, digital insertion, you name it, it occurred in the bed. And for me, I froze.
Pittman, now 54, says Wiley raped him repeatedly until he was 15.
In the Southern Baptist Church, we don't even talk about sex, much less sexual abuse.
Pittman says he finally found the courage to report his sexual abuse to the police in 2005. But legal action was impossible because the criminal statute of limitations had passed. So he says he then told numerous church leaders.
They said there's nothing we can do.
Nearly 40 years later, this explosive 288-page investigative report by independent firm Guidepost Solutions alleges how the Southern Baptist Convention's executive committee stonewalled survivors, including Pittman. It details how the church ignored Pittman's and other victims' sexual abuse allegations against Frankie Wiley, telling Pittman there was nothing he could do but pray.
What was your reaction to the report?
I was nauseated.
Pastor Roland Slade, a member of the SBC Executive Committee, was among hundreds of church leaders at its annual meeting in Anaheim, California this week, where the SBC vowed to change.
The affirmative has it. The recommendations pass.
Approving 2 recommendations, an updated abuse task force, and a database to track credibly accused ministers and pastors. The task force said the system would also be retroactive and would attempt to identify abusers and remove them from the church, even if the statute of limitations passed on the accusations.
I've spoken with survivors who just simply do not believe there will be institutional change.
And Nikki, I'm sad for that, but I understand that. And I understand that we've talked a lot, and we're really trying to make a monumental shift in how we handle sexual abuse as a convention of churches.
David Pittman traveled 2,500 miles to attend the SBC meeting. It's where we sat down. He gave me this 2019 email in which Frankie Wiley confesses to sexually abusing 5 boys.
It's a relief that it's on paper.
Finally, you're being believed.
Right. That the person that committed these crimes has acknowledged them and said yes. It just feels sick that I was just a gratification and an evil person.
As we sit here, Frankie Wiley is a music minister in a church in Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
You can see Wiley playing the piano at Trinity Community Church in Georgia this past Sunday. It's a church that recently cut ties with the SBC.
Did he ever apologize to you?
He tried. If he's locked up one day, that'll be apology. That's the apology I would like to see.
I spoke with 2 other men who share similar stories of sexual abuse by Frankie Wiley as young boys. I reached out to Wiley and Trinity Community Church in Georgia, where he works, but have not heard back. Wiley has never been charged with a crime, and that's a really important point. So many survivors and victims, not just of the Southern Baptist Church, but the Catholic Church, say they feel that criminal statute of limitations really protect these predators. David Wiley, as a 15-year-old, says he only had 5 years to go to police.
Wow.
Wow, it's not much time.
Yeah.
When you're processing that information at tender age.
Absolutely, yeah.
In a time when we weren't talking about sexual abuse.
And in a church and a community where, as he pointed out, this was not discussed.
No.
Right.
And the why they didn't believe him.
Right. Wow.
All those other kids. All right,
Boy.
thank you, Nikki.